afternoon, guys. It's Izzy here from Izzy Sandpit. Firstly, thank you very much for tuning in again, and if you're enjoying the content I'm doing on the channel, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe if this is your first time. Today I've got Jason Howe on from Rotosound Strings. The chairman of Rotosound Strings, started up by his dad in 1958. Over the years, they've created strings for many famous players, including Jimi Hendrix, Duff McKagan, and John Paul Jones out of Led Zeppelin. So some many renowned names there. He's going to be joining me, telling me all things strings and a little bit about his musical influence. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, guys. Good afternoon, guys. Episode 2 with Chats with Izzy on Izzy's Sandpit. This is Jason Howe from Rotosound Strings. Jason, welcome. Welcome to
Well, what can I say? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, man. When I first got the connection through Justin, and he said Jason from Rotosound Strings would be interested to come on, I thought, that's great because the music industry over the last 18 months has taken a bit of a hit.
Yeah, of course.
But from a as a guitarist myself, 4 Ibanez guitars in the background. One of them laced up with some of your strings, and
good to hear.
And I do like them. I'm going to be honest. But it's been a tough year, so it's good to get a little bit of everyone on, not just a musician, albeit you are a musician yourself. So
yeah.
So tell me about Rotosound Strings. Tell me everything you can reveal to me about them.
I can reveal, in a précis form, I guess. My father started the company in the early to mid 1950s, and my father was a violinist. He also played the zither, which is an Austrian instrument, a flat instrument with about 30 strings.
Yeah.
And so the story goes, and this is obviously true, he started learning to play the zither. He was fascinated by the instrument because he'd heard, he went to see the film called The Third Man, which is a spy movie with Orson Welles.
Okay.
And the music, the intro to the film is a piece of music called it's the Harry Lime theme. There you go.
Okay.
Got there in the end. So it's the Harry Lime theme, very recognizable. And actually, when you watch the film, I think you've got a picture of the zither strings being plucked as the song's being played. And he kind of was fascinated by that instrument. So he went out and bought a zither.
Okay.
And, they're not that popular. They weren't, I guess, not that popular then.
To be honest.
Yeah. So, he bought zithers, and I think the idea was he collected some, and of course strings broke, and he thought, well, I can't buy the strings, so if I make some strings for it, I can sell that zither complete with 38 strings or whatever it's got.
Wow.
And then buy another one. So he collected zithers, and apparently he had hundreds of them.
Okay.
I've still got about 20 in the factory. And that was the thing that got him into making strings. Zither strings, then it was violin strings, viola, cello, double bass. And it really wasn't till the early 60s. I mean, you couldn't have started the company at a better time because the music industry pop music scene was exploding.
Yeah.
So he started dealing with all these bands.
Status Quo, all the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, and you can see this on our website, he was going up to Jimi Hendrix in Croydon, fitting strings to Noel Redding's bass, making strings for Jimmy. Pink Floyd had the Who down at the factory in Blackfen. Yeah, early 60s. And he was making bass guitar strings. And one of the first strings he made was a black nylon bass string for the Burns Burns Black Bison bass. And the sound that created was like, it was a double bass sound on an electric bass guitar, because he'd also had these guys turn up at the factory with these double basses and the electric bass and going, you know what, James, I'm going to these gigs and I'm starting to use the electric bass, which is really cool, but I still need the upright bass for some of the jazz stuff I'm playing.
Oh, right, okay.
And my dad said, what I do, why don't I design a string that you can have on your electric bass that sounds like a double bass?
Oh,
so that was one of the first bass string inventions that my dad came up with.
That nylon.
Yeah, black nylon is the outer wrap on the string. So, and then of course he designed the round wound bass string, which John Entwistle picked up on, and the Who went out and toured the world with Rotosound bass strings, and the company kind of grew from that that point onwards. You know,
amazing. So, Jason, obviously that was your father. I know he's not with us, so.
right.
What was your sort of earliest memory of your father making strings and going into the Rotosound factory? Sort of give me some little interesting nuggets and some of your good memories.
Well, I can remember a lot of stuff, but some of the bits I remember, I guess, when I was about 5, which would have been in the early 70s, my dad was having a new factory built.
Right. Okay.
And I remember because he had it custom made. All these sections were made for the string making. Okay. And I remember playing with the bricks and building stuff with the bricks before they were actually being used. But
real life Lego.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And also I remember when I was about 7 or 8, it might have been a bit later than that, I remember my dad taking me to Earl's Court to see Yes.
Oh, right.
And Chris Squire.
Yes. I like Yes.
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 So Chris Squire was good friends with my dad. I think I was crying through the whole gig because it was so loud, But I met all these people when I was that young.
Yeah.
And so luckily, I mean, sadly, Chris is no longer with us, but we do have some endorsees. We have like Roger Waters that has been playing our bass string since 1967. Yeah. People that go back a long way with the company. So it's exciting. It's an exciting business.
Yeah.
And it's not it's an industry where you're dealing with like-minded people. Yeah. You're dealing with musicians, and whatever country you're in, if you go to a trade show, it's an industry that breaks down any barrier between
absolutely
anything. You like music, right? You're in. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
so it's a great business.
No, absolutely. And the thing is with music is it crosses paths. For example, like Justin and I's music taste, and I don't know your music, and we'll come on to that later. But my music taste is very much, when I was younger, it was very Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was very sort of radio rock, Def Leppard, White Snake, all those sort of bands, And then as I've got older, my taste has just got really heavy, and it's getting heavier and heavier. So now it's like metalcore and sort of like black metal and all sorts. And then I'll shift straight back to like pop music from like the 90s, like Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Really bizarre. But you say that the music is literally, it brings the world together. And I can imagine that, dealing with these people. And the funny thing is, obviously the channel's still new, the sound is still very new. And it's weird that all the musicians that I'm speaking to, that I'm getting to come on the show, they're also keen to just come and tell me their story and chat, and and sort of, it's amazing that musicians, they're just normal people that they're on the front page of Kerrang magazine or Rock Sound.
Yeah, we hold our heroes in quite high esteem, don't we? So it is, I've met a few over the years, and they're just normal people, and but they've got some magic going on with what they're doing. So it's an interesting business. I'm lucky I can mix my engineering background with my music background, so I can get enjoyment out of two key areas of the business, really.
Absolutely. So one of the things I was going to ask is, Mikey Demas is one of your artists on the that uses Rotosound. He's got his own version of his own.
That's right. Yeah.
Strings. So tell me, including that one, obviously, tell me what makes sort of your strings so special, really, because I know that yours are you've got the nickel ones and you've got the steel strings, which,
Yeah.
if I'm aware, other manufacturers don't make them. We won't say the names. We won't give them that
No.
advertising. So what makes your strings different? Because I'm still relatively new to your strings as well.
Yeah, well, there's certain things in the manufacturing process that are really important, and all the string companies make strings slightly differently.
Yeah.
So, that difference, the material we use is some of it's quite unique.
Yep.
We have our own specification of the material,
Yeah.
and the manufacturing process. I won't go into too much detail, but there's certain aspects of tensioning wire that there's different ways of doing it, and we do ours one way that I don't think many of the other companies do. But so yeah, it's the makeup of the string, it's the gauge size, the wrap wire size, the ratio to the core wire, and the manufacturing process. So yeah, there's certain strings like our swing bass, which you listen to bass strings on different records, and you can pick out the sound of Rotosound bass strings pretty quickly. You listen to Yes, or you listen to Rush, or you listen to the Stranglers. They will have certain bass sound, and you'll go, "That's our product," because it just has that tone.
Yeah.
And
No,
that is down. Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned Yes, and I'm trying to think of the song now. I'm catching myself out here. Roundabout by
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
The bass line
Yeah.
is incredible to that.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite songs. Certainly, I can't play it on bass. I can barely play it on guitar. Even though the riff's quite easy, it's great. But no, it certainly is a unique sound. So talking about music and bands, has that affected what bands did you like when you were younger, Jason? As you got older, has it changed slightly? Or have you always sort of like the same musicians?
I guess when I was in my early teenage years, I was exposed to a lot of music that bands that we were dealing with at the time. My dad would bring the albums home. He would bring home the first two Jam albums, for example. He'd bring home ELO albums, Out of the Blue, and classic albums like that. We were dealing with these bands. I guess as I got into my late teens and my early 20s, I was writing songs and playing music, and I was always looking for a lot of underground stuff. So a lot of bands I liked in the early 80s were pretty underground. They weren't really famous bands. But the early bands, I guess, from that time, bands that influenced me, bands like the Velvet Underground, very early Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett, a guy called Robin Hitchcock, Neil Young, I guess, at that time.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff which is a little bit obscure, and a lot of punk stuff as well. A lot of bands like the Buzzcocks and the Only Ones. Yeah, I mean, it's there's such a big spectrum of music out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah,
and see, punk. I tried punk music to listen to it, and then it's sort of, you're gonna laugh because the sort of pop punk. I like pop punk music, sort of like the emo-y Blink-182, My Chemical Romance. That's the sort of music that if I was going to say that it's got anything a punk vibe to it, that's what I like. So sort of hardcore, like Ramones, Sex Pistols,
Yeah, Ramones, Sex Pistols, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
Anything that's honest, not contrived. And I like a lot of garage rock as well. I like early bands like the 13th Floor Elevators.
Right,
obviously, bands like the Doors, Love.
Yeah.
A lot of obscure West Coast psychedelic bands like the Strawberry Alarm Clock, Chocolate Watch Band, the Millennium, the Merry-Go-Round. These are a lot of kind of obscure, jangly kind of fantastic songwriting bands,
No,
and
absolutely. Yeah, just because they've not made it.
So,
So the big.
I think my own website, my own website, jasonhowe.com. I think I've got on there all my influences.
Right,
But yeah, it's
I wasn't aware of that. You should have told me, Jason.
I should have done that, shouldn't I? Yeah, I've been so busy lately. I don't
No,
know.
you have.
Yeah,
You have, and we've again. Thanks for fitting me in here. So again, so you're just touching back on the strings in here. So Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd, Queen, Guns N' Roses, Duff McKagan, Steve Harris. These are all musicians that have that are involved with Rotosound Strings. Do you have any fond memories of meeting these guys, or anything? Maybe maybe if you went to a gig, or they came to the factory, or
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Steve Harris, from Iron Maiden, comes to the factory. I had Steve there. I had John Entwistle from The Who at the factory. I had Billy Sheehan there, all for a photo shoot. I had all those three guys, three bass legends in the factory for one day. And yeah, just, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people. Duff McKagan I know very well from Guns N' Roses.
What a guy.
I'm very good friends. Sorry?
What a guy. Velvet Revolver, Guns N' Roses,
yeah.
Taken,
Yeah.
Awesome music. Awesome.
So yeah, I'm good friends with James Lomenzo, plays bass with Megadeth, played bass with John Fogerty, Slash. In fact, I played at James Lomenzo's 60th birthday bash. He invited up a load of friends to play. He had like a 2 or 3 hour gig, and we all got up and did stuff with him, which was cool.
That's brilliant. And what did was Slash there? Did he?
No, he wasn't there. No, okay. not that night. That's but it's it's, I guess it's what they call a busman's holiday. When you're involved in a business all your life, it's just like normal. It just seems normal. But
absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff going on that isn't quite as flamboyant as meeting all the rock stars.
Yeah, do you know, it must be quite a weird combination, because obviously as the chairman of the string company of Rotosound, of the business, you're going there and you're invited to this amazing little shindig where these musicians, and they're all joined together around music and probably other things that we can't say on a YouTube channel that's going on, but we'll leave that to people's imagination. We've all got imaginations, but it must be quite an interesting sort of mix to sit there and chat to the people that you like, and chat to these people that are famous musicians that have been around the industry for a long time, and watch it change as well, because certainly the industry changed a lot in the last 10 years, especially with the emergence of sort of Spotify,
exactly.
all the streaming, and obviously bands make their money from touring, and very little now from streaming, unless you're sort of like Justin Bieber, where he's got like 90 million monthly listeners.
Exactly.
0.003p's that
exactly.
That
I mean, the best thing about Rotosound to me is I met my wife there.
All right, okay.
So Kathy, I mean, she's
that's an interesting story. We'll follow that one, Jason. Go on.
Yeah, no, my wife is, the company's done very well, and we've worked as a very good team since we met in 1997. But she's super smart, and I think I'm super smart, but I'm not. She tells me that. But no, I mean, it's a great business, and I get to meet, it's like with Justin and his friendship with Steve Diggle. I mean, being a big Buzzcocks fan, we got to hang out with the guys backstage, I think 2003 at the Junction in Cambridge, which, to me was like, I deal with a lot of famous people, but it doesn't mean I'm necessarily fans of what they do.
Absolutely,
But I deal with, we do deal with a lot of people as well that I am, fans of. So on those occasions, it's very nice when the two come together,
absolutely. For number one, I think out of all the musicians that you've worked in your portfolio would be Steve Harris, because Iron Maiden, for me, one of my favorite bands, and they were sort of one of the first metal bands I got into besides Metallica. And I remember listening to Quick or Be Dead And that riff, that dun, little, 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 and I remember thinking, this is great. And then obviously the air raid siren kicks in with Bruce Dickinson, and it's all, and I'm thinking, this is, oh, go on.
But I'm just going to say though that it's you know what kind of music you're into when you're running a business like this. It's not, that's really not anything to do with the business. That is your personal stuff. Your business is the people you deal with, and it's all important. Everything's important.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, but yeah, it's as I say, it's interesting. You know, I've spent the last 20 years building and designing new machinery, which has made sure our product cost has stayed competitive.
Yeah.
And given us the flexibility with the production. You know, the last 2 years for us, there hasn't been any supply chain issues because we make everything. So it's, you know, as long as we get our raw materials in, you know.
Yeah, you can't.
That's important.
That's
yeah.
So a bit more about you personally, Jason. So delving in, putting Rotosound to the side for a little bit, and you personally. So you play guitar, correct? Is that right?
Yeah.
Play guitar. So, and what sort of band? I believe you've got a band at the moment. So tell me about your bands over the years. Is it all local stuff, or have you tried to delve into that mysterious world?
Yeah,
Famous musician.
I think now I've got more. I've got two bands at the moment. One is kind of a garage rock band, kind of punk, very lo-fi, very raw,
Okay.
kind of. And the other band is a bit more psychedelic, and it's guitar, keyboards, and drums, acoustic guitar, keyboards, and drums. So I kind of, my songwriting goes out in two ways. You can hear stuff. It's all on Bandcamp or iTunes. I've got 6 albums on iTunes, so you can hear. And my solo stuff is kind of a bit psychedelic, punk. Yeah, there's a lot of influences in there.
Yeah,
but I've always written songs because I'm a shit guitar player. So I have no real interest in playing guitar at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm like,
no,
not interested. I'm only interested in the songwriting.
Yeah.
And what I'm singing about. It's got to be something that means something, you know.
No, absolutely. I get that. I mean, so go on, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's it really. I'm always playing and writing. I've got a studio here at home, so you can probably see.
Yes. Oh wow, some old school equipment there, bit of analog.
Yeah, and there's some guitars down here.
Is that a Moog? I see.
No, that's a Korg.
Oh right, okay. Oh wow, that's
an MS-10.
And
there's some other stuff knocking about down here.
You've got the couch, always needed in.
I've got the couch, yeah, with the cushions. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff knocking about.
Do the channel in between, and it's good. No, it is.
Yeah, no, good. Well, I'm really, pleasure being asked, and we'll have to keep in touch, Dan. Anyway, so
definitely.
Yeah.
So go on then. Tell me your favourite gig you've ever been to.
Favourite gig? I like a band. There's a Manchester band from the late 70s called The Fall, F-A-L-L. And I don't know if you know the band, but Marky Smith, The Fall.
No.
As in F-A-L-L.
Right. Okay.
They're like post-punk band, and you obviously know John Peel.
Yeah.
So they were John Peel's favourite band, and the one comment he made about that band is he said, "Always different, always the same," but there will never be another band that sounds like them because they were pioneers. No. But I think in the last 20 odd years, I've probably been to about 6 Fall gigs, and they were probably my favourite gigs, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! No, I've never heard them, so I'll have to check them out. I'll add them to my list. Got a list about this song of new people that I keep recommending me of
well, as you get older, it's like I guess you get to a point when you've got all the music you need. I mean, I've got like couple of thousand vinyl albums downstairs, and you get to a point where you kind of say, you know what, I think I've got all the music I need now. I'm not looking for new stuff, because you kind of feel like you've discovered everything, and everything you're going to discover now was probably ripped off from something that you liked back in the 60s.
There is that element to it, and when I look at music nowadays, I'm still a big fan of unsigned bands, and I'm trying to, I really think trying to help them, and because it's a cycle, it all comes.
Yeah.
So we will have a new AC/DC at some point. We'll probably have a new type of Guns N' Roses type sound, and you've got all the steps into their places. Like for example, you look at the likes of Avenged Sevenfold, and I know that they're sort of a metal band, but they're still playing big arenas and they're still doing the big thing, and that they will naturally. And Metallica are still going, and Iron Maiden are still going, and it's great. But I still find myself sticking to the same noughties and 90s playlists on Spotify, and listening to Blink-182 and Sum 41 and My Chemical Romance and Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, why can't I find another band that sounds a bit like them that is
you will break out of that, and I did exactly the same thing. But it's funny, the last 10 days I've been working in our dispatch area in the factory, because we've had so many staff out, and I've got my Marshall Bluetooth speaker, who I carry around with me, and I'm sticking stuff on, and I'm thinking, I haven't listened to that for ages, and it's the kind of job that I can listen to music and I can do the job. Whereas if I'm in my office, I can't really do that, So I've been listening back to stuff and listening to new stuff that I haven't sort of had time to listen to, really. But it's exciting.
So, okay, on that note, you've led in perfectly, actually, Jason. So, for me, name a band that you didn't like when you were younger, you've rediscovered now, and you've gone, wow, why didn't I like that at the time?
God, that's a difficult one.
I know.
You should have asked me that last week.
Give me one little one.
A band that I didn't like. A band that I didn't like when I was younger.
Yeah, or it doesn't necessarily mean you have to like, because I'm going to name a band in a minute that I didn't like them. I used to listen to their music and wasn't too keen on it, and then I've listened to it now and I'm like, wow, this is great. So
yeah, that's a really difficult one. I can only think of bands that I like. It's like,
well,
you have to leave that with me.
I'll go first. When I was a bit young, I won't reveal my age. It's a surprise. No, but joking aside, when I listened to Kerrang, I used to listen to when Placebo used to come on, and Bitter End. I used to be like,
I've got an album of theirs. Yeah,
this is noise. And now I listen to it, I'm like, wow, I love it. So I'm trying to learn all the songs. I'm listening to it all the time. I've booked to go and see them next year in Manchester. Later this year in Manchester when I get back to England. And I'm like, so if I ever get Placebo on the show, I might have to miss that line out. But you taste change, and you discover things that you didn't like and as you get older.
Oh, I can tell you somebody. Yeah, I can tell you somebody that I never really got when I was younger. But my best mate Jim, who we played music together for years, was Bowie. I never really got Bowie.
I don't really get it right now. I don't get Bowie.
Oh, well, I get him now.
Yeah.
But because there's so much with Bowie, you can't not like any of it. You can't dislike all of it, because there's so much going on. Yeah. But I think about 20 years ago, I just got consumed with Bowie, like I got consumed with Captain Beefheart, and I wanted to be a completist. Everything Beefheart did, I was like, got to get that. But I didn't like Frank Zappa. I didn't get Frank Zappa. But everybody said, oh, yeah, well, if you like Beefheart, you're going to like Zappa. And I'm like, I don't like Zappa, but I love Beefheart,
Yeah.
But again, with Beefheart, like Bowie, there's just this massive catalogue of stuff that you can't say, well, I don't like Captain Beefheart, because I bet you don't know 90% of it. You've only heard these bits.
No.
But yeah, so Bowie, I think, Bowie. I think, how did I not like Bowie? Yeah.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, Placebo probably the one for me that off the top of my head at the moment that I'm sort of I've over the past year or two I've gone back and invest and sort of
Yeah,
certainly during COVID when we're all sat at home. I mean, I was working from home at the time when I was living back in England, and I was sat there and I was
yeah,
just rolling through music and discovering so many. Um,
yeah,
bands that are big that were so old school 60s 70s, really trying to
yeah.
broaden my horizons, in terms of music, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can go the other way as well, and I can say people that I really liked when I was younger that I've
Yeah,
kind of gone off of,
yeah,
like
you can do that. Yeah.
it's which I think that way round is probably more normal. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think yeah, I I'm always open to listen to. I never really liked Bob Dylan when I was younger, but
No.
I love Bob Dylan, and I mean, yeah, there's so much again you can take from Dylan. Blonde on Blonde. Everybody's got to have Blonde on Blonde. I mean, that's just such a
Yeah,
seminal album.
it
Yeah,
is. It's one of the classic
but
ones
yeah,
in the bracket.
but yeah. So yeah, I mean, I could sit and talk about obscure bands all day.
Well, here's one for you. I'm going to leave you a takeaway then.
Yeah,
Before we get on to the next little section,
yeah,
a band called Dirty Americans. So like psychedelic rock, and they
right,
released an album called Strange Generation, 2002 on Roadrunner Records. It was that, and you know what? I love. I still speak to the drummer through Facebook
right.
times, and it seems really pleasant actually. Obviously, never spoken to him, but they were a really good band, and I love their album Stranger from start to finish. It's just a complete album. It's brilliant,
Yeah,
really good. It's got some like psychedelic bits in. It's got some proper
right.
rock and roll, and it's just one of those ones that you bob your head to. So try
Yeah,
that one out.
cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
always I'm always up for
I'll message you.
ideas like that. Yeah.
Right, okay, Jason. So next is my little fun question section. Okay, I'm going to ask you some random stuff. If you don't want to answer anything, you don't have to. But
Right, go for it.
you'll enjoy it.
I'll
No,
do my
it's
best.
all good. So this is a consistent question. Me being from the north, I've got to check whether people do this. Gravy or curry on chips?
Oh, gravy,
Gravy. Yes. What a
chips,
guy.
chips, peas, and gravy, of
Chips,
course.
peas, or mushy peas or normal peas?
Mushy peas all the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
yum.
yeah.
You know, it's great. There's a Waitrose down the road that does pies, and we can have mushy peas and gravy. So I can,
Oh, well, there you go. You're lucky. In
Little
Dubai.
England,
Yeah,
yeah, in Dubai, Little England, in
yeah.
Waitrose, and it's great. I get all my favorite English bits. So
Excellent.
you can take 3 albums to the moon, and what are you taking?
That's a hard one, but yeah, I could pick 300, but I would pick. I'd probably pick to your children's children's children by the Moody Blues,
Right?
and I would probably pick Marquee Moon by Television, and I'd probably pick Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols.
One of the most overrated albums they ever said. When I first listened,
I
it's
think
amazing.
I think the guitar sound on the album is a
Yeah,
killer.
it's killer.
It just
You are right.
nothing gets close,
No.
and it's done in that unashamedly
Yeah.
raw, couldn't give a fuck. Pardon my French.
No, absolutely.
Attitude.
Fr-
You don't have to, even without Johnny Rotten singing. There's
no,
still a whole load of attitude.
I know. And you say that when I first listened to, I know it's not on that album, Friggin' in the Rigging. When I first listened to that, I was like, what is this? This is mental. This
Oh,
is, and it was pioneering at the time. You don't see it now. You don't get it. You listen to this, this is mental. But at the time, it was something really unique.
yeah,
And they were getting on the
yeah.
radio and they were saying all sorts of manner of words. So no, that's good. No, they're good albums. I will check a couple out.
Yeah.
What's your favorite action film?
Oh boy.
Action films.
It's going to be an old one because I'm an old
That's
movie
fine.
fan.
Old. Yeah. I still watch Black Hawk Down, and that must be 25 years old.
Yeah. Well, these are probably even older, but I know, probably the Dam Busters, I guess. I know it's a cheesy answer.
It is
but,
cheesy,
you know.
but that's fine. The original Italian Job is great.
Yeah. Yeah, well, absolutely. That's great
Yeah.
as well.
Alfie.
That's a hard one because
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And final one is, tell me a fun fact about yourself that not many people will know.
you want a fun fact,
Yeah.
right? I
There
can
we
give
go.
you a very, very fun fact. When my mum died 3.5 years ago, I had to sort out my birth certificate.
Right.
And I don't know how this happened, but my name originally wasn't Jason, it was Kevin.
So
And that
Kevin.
is that a fun fact?
That's a great fact. You're actually not
And
really.
that's
So how have you
what's
ended up with
on
the
the
name
birth
Jason?
certificate. Sorry?
How have you ended up with the name Jason then?
Must have changed. It's on my passport, and
Amazing. That's a great
yeah,
little fact. That is a wonderful little
it
fact.
is.
Yeah, that's great.
I can't think of anything else, but that's not a bad one, is it?
Perfect. Right, Jason, thanks very much for coming on. Thanks for your time, mate.
No, it's my pleasure.
I know you're busy distributing those strings. Oh, what's that? A cookie?
I don't know what it is, but I thought it could smile at the end.
Well, Jason, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You're gonna have to let me come to the factory one time and
as soon as you're over here, give us a shout. You have to come to a gig as well.
Yes. When I'm
come
back
down
in,
with Justin.
I will. I'll speak to Justin. I am planning on coming back at some point. So
yeah, it'd be great to meet.
Jason, thanks very much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. I know you've been busy with your time. I really appreciate it. It's been dead interesting to hear about the strings, how they're made, the secrets, or some of the secrets you can't reveal. I'm certainly looking forward to meeting you in person at some point. Yes, enjoy watching this back, hopefully, if you do.
Yeah.
And thanks again, just thanks for coming on and thanks for entertaining us. And I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon, Dan. And keep eating those pies.
I certainly will. I don't get a body
Have
like
one
this
for me.
pies. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.